Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the January edition of the McNaid Cheese subscription service. Really pleased today to be coming to you with a range of sheep's cheeses, including Torquay, Wigmore, the Truffle Ewe, and the Bleu de Basque. So a really nice selection there. It's the first time we've showcased just used cheeses on the in the subscription service. But before I get stuck in, I also want to just welcome everybody, all the recent and very new subscribers we've had to the cheese subscription service. Obviously, after Christmas, lovely to see some new people joining the throng. And I hope you'll enjoy this. Hopefully, light-hearted and easygoing introduction to these cheeses. So first of all, just want to we'll talk initially about the Torquay. So the Torquay here, this cheese in the front here, this is a really ancient cheese from the Basque region. It's actually in French Basque country, not across the Pyrenees into Spain. Both the Basque cheeses we're tasting this evening are from French Pyrenees. But Torquay actually as a word in Basque means origin, so it's actually a very old recipe and very old style of cheese coming from that area. Obviously sheep's cheeses are historically been very prevalent throughout Europe, and especially I suppose in hotter climates of Europe, where the dairy industry, so also the cow dairy industry hasn't been as strong due to sheep and goats were very much the go-to livestock for small families and villages. They were much easier to manage, they were hardier, they were less intensive, and the milk they produce, a sheep's milk, is actually incredibly nutritious. It's got a very high calcium content, more so than the other cheeses. It's got very high fat content. It's got a much lower yield than a cow, for example, but for a start, a sheep only has 2 teats, and the actual quantity of milk from a sheep is lower than a cow, but the quality of that milk is really rich and full of nutrients and minerals. And actually, one of its strongest things is the calcium content, which is obviously really good for your bones. But also, these livestock, the sheep and the goats, were really popular as small herds for individual families and small villages, and in areas like the Basque country, very agile amongst the hills and the mountains, and worked much better in that climate and in that topography than a dairy cow herd, for example. So yes, this is a really ancient cheese, and as you cut into, you can see it's a sort of semi-hard, but lovely creamy texture. It's it's soft and pliable. It's not crumbly. It's a lovely creamy texture, and you smell it. It's got nuttiness and also fruitiness. Just a really lovely, soft but fruity cheese with a sweet caramel flavour as well. So you really do get that. It's a lovely initial cheese. It's very accessible to a lot of people, and my children, for example, they're terrible with strong flavours. This has got lovely, evident flavour, but it's not punchy. It's not strong. It's not spicy. It's just got a really lovely velvety and smooth creaminess to it. So that's the Torquay from the Basque Pyrenees, just into the French side. Alongside that, I was then going to jump across from the Basque country back to the UK. The next 2 cheeses we're doing are both from the UK. I'm going to start here with the Wigmore. Now, the Wigmore was a dairy started by Anne Wigmore in the 1980s, I believe it was, where she'd actually been travelling a lot in Europe, and she was inspired by Italian pecorinos, for example. She came back and started her dairy business. She doesn't actually own doesn't own a farm, doesn't own any cattle herself, or cows, sheep, but she is but she's working with local milk producers or farmers who give the milk to her. And she started with Ewes. This was one of her original cheese, hence being called Wigmore. Her family name is Wigmore. And that's stuck ever since. She has since branched out and produces a few other cheeses now, including cow's cheeses, such as the sister cheese, the Waterloo, which is actually very much, they're similar in style to a brie, if you like, and certainly the Waterloo is a rich cow sort of brie kind of cheese, and this is obviously the sheep's equivalent. As you can see, it is that very much a brie kind of consistency. This we've just taken out of the fridge not long ago, but actually if you leave it out to ripen a little bit longer than we have, then that will ripen beautifully and consistently. It's not going to, some cheeses obviously ripen on the outside and then stay very chalky and crumbly on the inside. This is going to ripen really beautifully. You can already see it's ripening beautifully, consistently throughout the cheese. In terms of flavour, really good. Well, make up your mind for yourselves, but again, sort of a nice fruity complexity, very easy going. Obviously, a natural rind, very edible, and yeah, you wouldn't want to be chewing off that. It all adds to the texture and to the fun with the cheese. So that's the Wigmore, made in Berkshire. So it's a very much a home counties cheese, not far away, but it's really good quality, and it's won lots of awards and is a really popular cheese for us throughout the year. All these cheeses are actually generally with us throughout the year, but it's a strong favourite amongst many of our customers. So I hope you do pop it back in and enjoy it as well. We'll then go on to the truffle ewe. Now this is also really interesting, another English cheese, but again made by a family business in Sussex called the High Wheel Dairy, and they started their business similar time, about 25 years ago, in the Sussex Downs, and they started with a small herd of ewes. They have since then gone on and extended the range to include cows' cheeses and goats' cheeses, but their original herd was purely ewes, and so hence this truffle ewe is a bit of a long love affairs of theirs with used cheeses. In here, obviously, they've laced it with these wonderful decadent flavours of truffle, and you can see again, it's a semi-hard cheese again, not dissimilar really in texture to the Atorki. You can see just through here, there's the line of truffle. If you break it apart there, you can just see it where it comes through. There's actually two lines of truffle through it, but the one's not quite so evident. But yeah, you smell that. It's really light, almost citrusy. It's a fruitiness, but actually, again, you've still got that sort of punchy, not the punchiness, but the very dominant flavour of the truffle coming through as well. Smell of the truffle. And the truffle just keeps on giving. It really prolongs the flavour, keeps it going, and a really lovely addition to it. This is on their website. They actually list this as their favourite cheese. The owners of the dairy, Mark and Sarah Hardy, so yes, they are strong advocates for it, and yeah, having that addition of the truffle really sort of enhances and adds that little bit extra. So hence it's a very popular cheese for us over the Christmas period as well, but obviously we've got another 12 months to go until then again. Before we move on to the other, I should actually just introduce you the crackers which we've got. We've obviously got the oat crackers. Now, for long-time subscribers of ours, you might well recognise these guys that we've had the other flavours in before. This is actually their original flavour, the cracked pepper and sea salt, which is really scrumptious. Won lots of great taste awards, and it's just you've got lovely crunch to it, but it's really natural. And this is made literally around the corner from us in I think Whitstable. So they also do the sweet cookies as well, but their crackers they're very well known for, and we've been stocking them for a long time, and we think they're a great addition to the cheese board. And if you complement that with the Trachelmann's quince, obviously quince is, as if you know, everyone knows that Membrillo is a fantastic complement to Manchego. Manchego is obviously an extremely well known Spanish cheese, sheep's cheese again. So we know that quince and sheep's milk go extremely well together. And let's try them at the truffle U, then with the Membrillo, or should I say the quince paste. Really good. Just the quince cuts her and complements the cheese really, really well, and we know what a great combination it is with Manchego. And in this case, take Membrillo, quince paste in Spanish, is obviously the quince cheese, which is made here by Trachelmann's, who are another really well respected sort of chutney and preserve maker here in the UK, who we work well with. So yeah, I think those work really well with this. Another alternative to this really works well with sheep's cheeses is figs as well. So I was thinking, we could do a fig ball, or even a pan forte, which obviously this time of year after Christmas, still in many people's cupboards, a little bit left over from the Christmas cheese board, and it's a fantastic Italian traditional complement to cheeses. So yeah, that would be another really great alternative. Before we move on to the blue cheese, just washed down these with a little slug of the Zebibo. So again, I think as I said in previous videos, there's no one right wine or wrong wine with cheese. Obviously, so many cheeses have so many different characteristics and flavours. You can't really pair one wine with a whole cheese board. Maybe if you want to pair one wine with a cheese, just stick with a cheese. But so there's no right or wrong. So obviously with the blue cheese, a wonderful port or something like that would complement it really well. Quite often with these, people say with the goat's cheeses and sheep's cheeses, Sancerre or even Chardonnay works. Chardonnay is actually probably the most versatile of wines to work with a lot of cheeses, but with the sheep's cheeses, they're quite a particular flavour. They're different to cows, they're different to goats, but it's wanted something really sort of quite fruity. And if you take the Zebibo, this is a wonderful wine from Sicily, so very much grown on the volcanic soils of Sicily. Zebibo as a grape is actually the Sicilian name for Muscat d'Alexandria. So Muscat is traditionally a sweet grape, but here obviously they're making it into a dry style of wine. But with that, you do get a really floral notes to the wine, and almost tropical fruit as well. And I think that works really well with these cheeses. But there's no right or wrong answer. It's just what you enjoy. And I think this is a cracking wine that we really enjoy. We've been serving here, and it's quite a favourite of a number of the team in the wine shop. We've actually got it on taster here this weekend as well. So if anyone, many of you have the bottle already. If you don't, then come into the wine shop and taste it when you have a moment. But yeah, really cracking wine, lovely, and firm favourite of mine. So finally, talk a little bit about the Bloody Basque. That was not Bloody Basque, that was Bloody Basque. But here you can see again, so this is a semi-hard Basque cheese, a blue, and you can see it's beautifully sort of pitted, and it's semi-hard and crumbly, but at the same time smooth and Lovely texture, but equally the flavour is a really quite a good blue for people who say, oh, we don't like blue, because it's not aggressive, it's not overly salty. There's a real sweetness to it and a real creaminess to it. Yeah, it's just a really lovely, accessible blue cheese. It's got all this lovely markings through it, or marbling through it of the blue. But the cheeses again are from the Basque region, so the sheep are grazing in the hills of the Basque country, grazing on flowers and mountain pasture or a hillside pasture, so really lush, verdant pastures, and they just give it that lovely fruitiness. Obviously they'll vary through the year with the passing of the seasons, but it's a cracking cheese, and I think this is we talked about 3-4 months of this as opposed to something like the Wigmore, which is far younger. So as a combination there, it's lovely, this blue, it really is. As a combination, they work really well together. Nothing to say you have to serve all sheep's cheeses on one board, but I think in this case it actually shows, even though with one style of milk, one type of milk, you can have quite a wide range of cheeses. And other classic used cheeses we haven't even mentioned include Manchego, obviously we have mentioned, Roquefort, all the pecorinos from Italy, feta, ricotta, halloumi. And so obviously when you start thinking about those names, you can really think, and you start assimilating those with those slightly warmer climate areas of Europe, where cheeses were a way of life, and they weren't big dairy herds like we have in the UK. Dairy herds of cows, they were small herds of sheep and goats, and hence why sheep's milk became very popular and has come up with a wide range of cheeses now, which are, people know the names Roquefort, Manchego, Pecorino, but they don't necessarily always associate them with the fact that actually those cheeses are cow's cheeses. I think it's also important to note that where people say, oh well, I'm lactose free and I can eat goat's cheese but not cow's cheese. Sheep's cheese is actually a stronger or a higher level of lactose in it than cows. So don't think a sheep's cheese, unlike a goat, is lactose free. Because actually the lactose levels in a sheep's cheese are higher than those in tour, whereas yes, goat is a really safe alternative for people who are lactose intolerant. But goodness, well, there's a bit of a whistle-top tour of some of those used cheeses, but I hope you really enjoy them, and I'm looking forward to sitting back and enjoying the rest of this platter with Bex, who's very kindly on the camera there, and Robin and Jack here in the wine shop, and enjoying a glass or two with the cheeses. Do pop in and see the team in the wine shop. Obviously, we normally film from in the store or in our meeting room, but it's really nice to come out here and do it amongst the wine shop as well. So thank you very much for tuning in. Obviously next month there will be another surprise package of yummy cheeses coming through, which the guys are working on now, and we'll look forward to presenting those to you next month. Have a great tasting and a great weekend. Thank you.